Okay, let's talk about the AI gold rush. We're seeing investment on a scale that is just mind-boggling. But if you kind of look past all the headlines, you have to wonder, what are we actually getting for all that money? And where is this all really going? $500 billion. That's the staggering amount of money that's been poured into AI infrastructure. And the big players, their revenue growth is just off the charts. You've got Anthropic reportedly tripling its annualized revenue in just 5 months. OpenAI is on a trajectory to hit over $12 billion by 2025. We're talking massive enterprise-level spending on AI. And that brings us to this weird paradox, right? With all this cash flying around, why are most companies still just, well, playing around with basic chatbots or maybe some simple code writing tools? Why hasn't this revolution completely transformed every part of the business yet? The answer, as it turns out, is something called Agentic AI. Now, to really get what these AI agents can do, we should probably start where they're already making a huge difference, in software development. There's this new term popping up that just perfectly captures what's happening. The legendary music producer, Rick Rubin, he came up with this brilliant way to describe it. Think about it. Punk rock came along with its 3-chord simplicity, and suddenly anyone with an idea could make a song. Well, vibe coding is the same thing, but for software. You just describe the vibe of what you want, and the AI starts building it. It's way, way more than just generating a little bit of text. So this vibe coding thing, it's powered by Agentic AI. Now, that might sound super technical, but the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. Just think of an agent as a large language model, the brain, like GPT-4, that's been put inside a loop and given access to tools. So it's not just talking about what to do, it's actually doing it. So how does that loop work? Well, you give an agent a goal. First, it reasons. It thinks about the best way to tackle the problem. Then, it acts. It actually calls a tool. That could be writing code, searching a database, anything. After it acts, it has to self-verify. It asks itself, did that work? Am I getting closer to my goal? And then it just repeats the whole process. Reason, act, verify, repeat. It sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Okay, so if the concept is that easy, why isn't every single company on the planet using agents for everything? Well, this is where the cool demo runs smack into the cold, hard reality of the business world. And believe it or not, building a basic agent is surprisingly simple. You could probably whip up a little version of that loop in about 100 lines of Python. Give it a calculator as a tool, watch it solve a math problem. It's a fantastic weekend project for sure. But here's the billion-dollar question. That little script you just built, is it really ready for your business? Can you just plug that into your production systems where there's real money, real customers, real consequences on the line? And the answer, almost always, is a hard no. Because a real production-grade application needs all of this. It needs to handle all your company logins and user permissions. You gotta have audit logs for compliance. It needs serious security, cost control so you don't accidentally burn through $1 million in API calls, and safeguards to make sure the thing isn't just making stuff up. This is all the boring but absolutely crucial stuff that separates a fun little demo from a business-critical tool. So you can't just vibe code your way into production. That's clear. You need a real strategy. The good news is the options for building these enterprise-grade agents are getting a lot clearer. And they basically fall into 4 distinct paths you can take. And these 4 paths are all about a classic trade-off: control versus effort. On one end of the spectrum, you can build it all from scratch. That gives you total control, but man, it is a ton of work. One step down from that, you can use a framework like LangGraph, which gives you high control but with a little less effort. For most other business tasks, you'll probably use a platform. That's low effort, but you do give up some control. And finally, you can just use a verticalized agent that does one specific thing perfectly. It's almost no effort, but you get 0 flexibility. When you look at it, those 4 paths really boil down to one of the most classic decisions in all of software, just now applied to the world of AI. And here's a really simple way for you to think about it. Is this agent part of your core product? Is it something that gives you a real competitive edge, or does it handle super sensitive data? You probably want to build it, but are you just automating a standard business process? Do you need it done like now, not next quarter? Do you want to save your engineers from getting paged at 2 a.m. to fix an authentication bug? Then you should almost certainly buy it.
So what does all this look like when it's put together? We can actually get a pretty good peek into the future by looking at how a company like Stripe runs its software today and just imagine how they'll use agents tomorrow.
I think what we're going to see is that every business will have a few very powerful, custom-built agents that are absolutely core to what they do. That's the big bar on the left, the head of the tail. But then they're going to have this huge long tail of dozens, maybe hundreds of smaller agents, probably built on a platform that automate all the other stuff. Everything from fighting credit card chargebacks to answering basic support tickets.
And you know what makes this future feel totally inevitable? The economics. Between just 2022 and 2024, the cost of AI inference, that's the cost of actually running the model, it dropped by a jaw-dropping 99.7%. The cost is basically racing towards zero. And that means running that whole long tail of hundreds of little agents is becoming almost free.
So really, as we wrap this up, it's pretty clear the conversation has completely shifted. The question is no longer if your business is going to use AI agents. The real question is, how are you going to get the most value out of them? It's about making a smart, strategic choice. What's the right tool for the right job?